Welcome to the Resilient Man podcast. And today we've got a very special episode. We've got two guests. These are the founders of a local charity called Summits Up. So today I'm joined by Gary and Simon. Gents, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So with the Resilient Man podcast, one thing that we like to do is to touch on 2 or 3 different moments of struggles or adversity and break those down and see what the people who are listening can get out of that. So before we discuss the charity, I'd like to know a little bit more about you, what you guys have been through, and then what led you to the charity. So Simon, starting with yourself, what are those 2 or 3 key turning moments for you, those key points of adversity or of struggle that you've been through?
Yeah, good question. I think it all relates really as to why the charity was formed anyway, so a good place to start. But for me, I've struggled with alcohol and addiction. So going back now just over 3 years since just coming up to 3 years since I've stopped drinking. But I noticed that alcohol was becoming a problem following a sort of a party-centric 20s, I guess, and then carrying on drinking. But in my sort of early to mid-30s, realised it was I wasn't drinking like everyone else anymore. It was becoming a problem. I didn't know when to stop. I was hiding, isolating, lying about my drinking. Split up from a partner because of it. Started a new relationship, and the writing was on the wall for the same to happen again. So for me, it was just that entering the battle with addiction, really, noticing the problem and then realising I had to do something about it.
So when did you notice it was addiction and it was more than just a party lifestyle?
Yeah. I think probably knew from my mid-20s, and I'm late 30s now, noticing that I was different to other people with my ability to stop drinking, or I would start earlier, I'd finish later. I wouldn't ever just go have the ability to have one and stop. But I think it really became apparent when friends were growing up around me, starting to get married, have kids, and the same behaviours were sneaking in for me, with hanging around with younger people, still going out, drinking in private, lying about how much I was drinking, and all the common signs really of a problem and addiction. And then it really hammered it home when I tried to stop. So if I ever tried to do something like dry January or Stoptober, I wasn't able to do it, and I was again lying about it. And then when I now look back, that was the true sign of it being an addiction, the underlying issue really.
So somebody's in that state, maybe in that party era of their lives and drinking, what are the key things for them to notice that whether they've got a drinking problem or not?
I think if you're starting to question whether you've got a drinking problem, then it's usually a very big sign that something is probably wrong, and it's something that you need to look into. I always suggest that if you're unsure, try an extended period of time. For me, as an addict, I would go into, say, a 30-day window trying to stop drinking, and it would be, I'd be counting down the days, and if I did manage an extended period, which was rare, at the end of it, I'd reward myself with a big blowout. So the end result was just, it would compound it through, and then it would get even worse. I'd be drinking to catch up on what I've left out. So I think, be honest with yourself, try going for an extended period of time without it, see how you cope. And then seek help, really. A lot of people feel that they have to wait to hit rock bottom, or they have to wait for something to go horrifically wrong in your life. Where I'm a big believer now that make the change while you still can. And it might not be a case that you have to not drink forever. Like there's people, I was very scared of that sort of lifestyle change. I'm now pleased I made that change, so we can go on to that later. But it's if you are starting to question it yourself, there's probably a reason. And if you're honest with yourself with the behaviours and they're not matching what normal looks like in your head, it's probably worth seeking help.
Would you be able to just paint a picture of Simon in that era? Yeah. And what a day would look like? Yeah,
so I mean at its absolute worst, I would wake up in the morning and often drive to work, stopping off on the way to work with buying a small bottle of gin. I would then have half of a bottle of gin mixed with a Lucozade bottle on the drive to work, or when I first got to work in the car park. I'd then have the rest of it through the morning. So I'd have had a bottle of gin by, say, 10 o'clock in the morning. I would then spend the rest of the day not being able to drink anymore, but in this sheer state of anxious state, really, because I've thinking everyone knows I've been drinking. Why have I done that? Sheer extreme anxiety would kick in, and hate myself for it, and then promise myself I'm never going to do it again, and then enter the cycle the next day and do exactly the same thing. And I was doing that for years. No one ever, still to this day, I'm still working, I'm lucky enough to still have kept my job, and I came clean at work as to what had happened, and I couldn't get out of it without help, and I was lucky enough that my work supported me through it. But if I was just constantly in a state of anxiety, that people would know what I've been doing, and that was how it looked on a daily basis. What I would say, if anyone's listening to that and thinking, oh well, I'm not drinking every day, or I'm not secretly drinking a whole bottle of gin, it's a progressive illness, and if you get to that, you don't need to get to that state to address it. I wasn't doing that from day one in my 20s. I was perhaps drinking 3 days a week at the time, and then 4, and then 5, and then morning snuck in, and it all snowballed into becoming a lot bigger problem. So I'm extremely grateful to this day that I managed to stop it when I did. I didn't, luckily enough, I didn't lose anything, didn't hurt anyone to any sheer extent, and lucky enough to have managed to come through to the side.
When you was going through that, did anyone around you kind of pull you to one side and say, Simon, I think you've got a problem? Were there any signs like that?
I think we all kind of joked about it. It was people, no one knew the extent of it. No one knew the extent of drinking through the day, secretly drinking in the morning. People saw behaviours like friends noticed after we might have had a big night out at some time, and then I'd been caught the next morning necking drinks, or drinking I remember one occasion drinking a bottle of wine before some friends came around, hiding that bottle of wine to then drink a bottle of wine with them. And there was a lot of occasions that were similar to that, with volume of always extra secret drinks that were happening. So people did pull me aside occasionally, but I wasn't ready to hear it from other people. I was too scared of them taking this comfort blanket away from me. So it wasn't until I was actually faced with I was going to lose my current partner, who's now my wife, if I hadn't managed to address it. So I agreed to counselling for myself. I guess it was I needed to get it right for me and for her. Had specialist counselling, which helped me accept that I was an alcoholic, and then that got me on the straight path to recovery, really, from there.
So you're obviously quite close to your wife, and you was back then. Could you imagine not having your wife and that support in the background? Would you still have gone to therapy, do you think, or would you have carried on? Yeah,
good question. I think when I talked about not needing to hit rock bottom, I personally think I would have struggled to come back from, I was one bad decision away from losing everything. So if I'd lost my wife at the time, I think I would have lost my driving licence, my job, and been in a very different situation. And with my therapist, talked about this quite a lot, and I don't know if I had it in me to come back from there. I think I'd have been into a situation where I've not got the fight in me anymore. So I hate to say it, but I don't know if I would have been strong enough. I think anyone that has managed to come back without the support of other people is extremely strong. And if you are in that situation, there is external help that can get you back, and people like us in the charity where we can offer that community and support, which again we'll talk about later, for anyone that is feeling particularly isolated. So you had your wife there. Did you talk to any one of your friends about any struggles with addiction to alcohol? Yeah, I've got a good friend who's a doctor, but I wasn't giving them enough information. I wasn't telling them the extent of it and the knock-on effect it had on my mental health as to how bad it was, and how it was a daily, almost 24/7 occurrence. Why do you think it was that you didn't tell them the full truth? Because I was scared of it being taken away from me. And I knew that once I'd accepted I knew it was bad. I knew it was strange behaviour. I knew it was something that was not normal. I knew it was something that I couldn't continue doing. But at the same time, I didn't know how to live life without it. And I didn't know, every time I tried to stop, I'd gone into, I'm not going to drink today. I would autopilot do it. So I think I was scared that I wouldn't be able to survive. I wouldn't know how to live without that crutch, if you like. So moving to present day, how's your relationship with alcohol now? My last drink was on September the 25th, 2023. I went to AA, I had specialist counselling, And at that time, I accepted that I could just never drink again. I'd gone through times leading up to it where COVID was a prime example, where a lot of people's drinking went up. I actually didn't drink through COVID, but then as soon as I got back in the cycle of going back to work, back into a routine, the old behaviours came straight up. And that's given me the clarity that I now know my life is 10 times better, 100 times better without it. I actually have focus, I have a purpose, I enjoy doing things, which everything before just revolved around drinking, when's next, what's any excuse that drinking would be involved. So my life is 10 times better. I can still be around alcohol. I had a complete mind shift change that I wanted to have a better life as a result of not drinking. So don't try and sort of wallow in the past and don't think about or pity me of how bad I used to have it. People had it a lot worse. I've been very lucky. I've managed to come through the side and not cause too much destruction in the grand scheme of things. But I accept it for the people. I don't preach to other people about what they should or shouldn't do. But I've accepted that I'll have a sober life for the rest of my life anyway.
Fantastic. So looking back then, what steps or what advice would you give to somebody who's struggling with addiction?
I think firstly, you don't have to face it on your own. Take accountability for it and seek help from I went into AA personally, but there's other groups available. Charities like ours, I always try and deal with anyone that's suffering with addiction so I can offer a lived experience, if you like, and provide some insight. The other thing is accountability. So for me, I invested in a breathalyzer. I told my work HR department, my manager, my wife, I told them all I had a breathalyzer, and I agreed to breathalyze myself 3 times a day. I set it up so that in my deceitful mind, there was no way I could trick the system, and I would breathalyze myself essentially so that at any point there was no way I could have alcohol in my system, because the last however many years I'd sneakily drank and lied about it. So I wanted to physically make it impossible that I could. So I made that decision. The therapist I saw said it was I think the breathalyzer cost me 40 quid off Amazon. He said it was the cheapest rehab he's ever seen because it held me accountable for 6 months. It broke the habit and then it got me out the other side. So I always advise it to people. Some people would say it's not necessarily the best because you are reliant on the breathalyzer as opposed to improvement of yourself and better will. But it certainly broke the habit for me. It got me through. And then after 6 months, it was a lot easier I now have a breathalyzer. I've not needed to use it for 2.5 years or 2 years to prove it to myself.
So no cravings for alcohol anymore? You're not interested in it?
No cravings for alcohol. I think I've accepted where it got me and closed the door on that. Still have the sort of FOMO that comes with hearing like a group of lads at work talking about a trip to Ireland, people going out to watch the rugby and football. Sometimes just wish, why can't I drink normally? But I can squash that quite quickly and I know I can't drink like that. I know I'm not normal in that sense, and that the romanticising of it won't help me, basically. So I've managed to just accept that it's a life without for me.
Fantastic.
How do I follow that?
Over to you.
How do I follow that? Obviously, that's amazing, Simon. I'd say my story's probably a lot more like what people would class, I'd say, as normal for a man. So I'd say like throughout my life, I've had like episodes where I'm affected by depression. So yeah, I've had episodes where I'm affected by depression essentially. So there's things like when I was early 20s, I was working in Sunderland. Like at the start, I loved it. I was up there with my mates. I was having the time of my life. I was going out in Newcastle every weekend. But then after a bit, that kind of wears off. And then all of a sudden, I'm 165 miles away from home. I'm not really seeing any of my friends and family in Nottingham, and start getting lonely. And then I came back. I had a bit of time off work at that point. Spoke to a doctor, was put on medication, put on sleeping tablets. And then I knew what the problem was. The problem was that I was so far away from home, and it's quite an easy fix. Get a job in Nottingham, come home. And then a few years later, probably late 20s, early 30s, split up with an ex-girlfriend. We bought a house together. It just felt like I was starting from scratch again. So again, hit that depression. That's when I had my counselling for the first time. That's when I spoke to someone about the root cause of the problem rather than just trying to mask the problem with medication. And again, like things like that, like if you have to start from day, start from scratch again. Like, it's not the end of the world. Like, money is only money, really, at the end of the day. Like, I've got a good base around me. I've got, like, I'm close with my parents. I'm close with my friends, close with my family. So, like, there was somewhere for me to go. And I know a lot of people, at that time, I probably thought, like, when I split up with my ex-girlfriend, I thought, like, what am I going to do? How do I tell my parents? Like, where do I live? Like, you're basically creating up, like, I was probably depressed before I split up with my ex-girlfriend. But I put all these, like, I knew the answer was that I needed to split up and move on with my life. But I put all these blockers in place to stop me doing that. When Simon referred to rock bottom on paper was like when I split up with my ex-girlfriend, but all the things were there prior to that. That the rock bottom was when I'm starting to get help and starting to move in the right direction. And then even after that, like, sorted myself out, got back into kind of a good position, gone through redundancy at work. A lot of people talk to me about redundancy at work, and there's a lot of redundancies happening at the minute. And they're like, given 30 days notice at work and things like that. I was told I was getting made redundant in October and didn't get made redundant till June. Okay. So I had like 8 months. And one thing that, since we've started the charity that I talk about, and we'll probably come on to it a bit later, is purpose. And it kind of took my daily purpose away from me. And at the time, I didn't realise I was depressed. That was such a long period of time where I didn't have the drive to get up in the morning. Yeah, I didn't have the drive to get up in the morning because, like, what am I going to work for? Because if I do a good job at work, I'm going to lose that job anyway. It's not like I'm working towards a promotion. It was like I'm just getting up and going through the motion. And when that kind of purpose is taken away from me, I was like, what's happened to me?
Such a strange scenario as well. So I've been made redundant twice, but it's been not there that day that they're going through, not...
Yeah, like, some people kind of go, yeah, you're lucky. I think, like, I'm the type of person that when a problem comes up, I want to deal with it straight away. But essentially, for me to deal with it straight away, I'd lose my redundancy package. Like, essentially, the easy trick was, like, you just get another job. But when you've got a large redundancy package, you sit there thinking, and in hindsight, I think it'd been better for me to just go and get another job and forfeit the redundancy package, because you can't put a price on your mental health. But at the same time, I'd lost everything beforehand in terms of, I had a house, I basically lost my deposit and things like that. And so the redundancy was, this is how I'm going to start again. This is how I start my life again. But again, like, in hindsight, it's only money at the end of the day. You can't put a price on your mental health.
So can you take me back to that first time that you said you was depressed?
Yeah, so I worked for Barclays Bank at the time. Me and a group of mates, I think there's 4 of us, moved up to Sunderland to work for Barclays. But then slowly, like, people started to get jobs elsewhere in the country. So then there was only kind of 2 left. Then it went down to myself, and it was loneliness, really. Like, I think the word depression kind of covers a lot of different topics. I've been quite lucky because my dad has had mental health issues since I was about 15. So I feel like I probably wasn't honest with my friends. Like, when I was coming back to Nottingham all the time, when I was partying all the time, they probably looked at me and thought, he's living his best life. But I was in a position where I could speak to my parents, and I had that support network around me. So I've always been really lucky with that. And I think because I've had that support network, and because my dad's had those struggles, it then probably made it easier for me to go and speak to a doctor about my struggles and how I was feeling. Like, I look at myself, like, at that time, I'd just finished university. Like, I had the world at my feet, but then something wasn't right. But I knew something wasn't right, so I could had the confidence to speak to someone. I think my parents probably encouraged me or told me to go to the doctor, which then allowed me to make those decisions to then go, actually, the issue is that I'm so far away from home and I need to come back to Nottingham.
It's so good that you had that relationship with your parents. You're able to, I'm assuming you told them about where you were struggling and you felt lonely.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think it's so important to have that person you can talk to. And I think because of the stuff that we do with the charity, a lot of people actually reach out to me to say, I'm going through this, I'm going through that. But, like, everyone talks about, like, it's okay to not be okay. But for me, like, it's okay to not be okay if you do something about it. If you talk to someone about it, like, it's not okay to, when you're willing to accept that something needs to change, something needs to be different. Like, if you're sitting there thinking, oh, it's okay to not be okay, and I'm just sat at home crying, feeling sorry for myself, then what's going to change that situation? If anything, it's only going to get worse, and then that's why male suicide is so high.
What's interesting there is you both had somebody. So Simon, you had your wife who you could confide in, you had like close network with your parents to confide in as well. And I think what we'll all see is like, guys, just hold everything in themselves and don't let it out and don't talk to people.
Yeah, we're massive advocates in terms of reaching out to your friends, checking that they're okay. But it's very difficult. Like, I can text every one of my mates every single day, but they have to have the trust and confidence that they are willing to open up and be honest about how they feel. And if someone turned around and said, Gary, I feel suicidal, what are you going to do with that information? Like, where am I going to turn? Where am I going to point them? And I think that's why people kind of trust us with the charity, because people are aware that we've gone through these situations before. I've had friends that have gone through these situations before. So I'm not an expert, but I'm there to listen, to go, actually, I can try and help you.
So I'm just going to go back into your story a little bit.
Of course you can, yeah.
So what were the key things for you, for someone to recognise that they're depressed?
For me, it's about purpose. It's like lack of drive. The thing that jumped out to me is like struggling to get out of bed in the morning. Like, stopping doing hobbies that I enjoy. Like, I've always been into my fitness. I've always played football. I've swam at a decent level. I've always enjoyed the gym. And it's just things like that basically you stop doing the hobbies you've got because you've got no kind of drive. You've got no, I want to use the word ambition, but it's not the right word. The right word is something like you're just feeling sorry for yourself.
So what advice would you give a younger Gary at that time?
It's okay to not be okay.
Just do something about it.
Just do something about it. Yeah, like I say, do something about it. Recognise it. I think when I was going through redundancy, I didn't necessarily realise that I was depressed at the time until I was made redundant and the weight was taken off. I got made redundant. I had like 3 days and I was offered a job. And I'm like, I've had all this stress for the last 8 months, all this weight on my shoulders. And then I've essentially not had a job for 3 days. Like, was it worth it? No, absolutely not. But it's in my own head. The cause is me. And that's all 3 situations. Like, probably could have made more friends up in Newcastle. They are a friendly bunch. When I split with my ex-girlfriend, I was starting from scratch. Like, so what? In my opinion, I've built a bigger and better life. Like, it's done me. It's one step back to take 2 steps forward. Like, but it's all building up in your head. Like, and thinking, actually, what do you want to get out of it? Like, I could have stayed in that relationship and been unhappy for years and years and years, but instead I made that decision. I had the confidence to make the decision to say this is the right thing for me. And I think that's where a lot of people will sometimes struggle, is like having that confidence to go, actually, I want to make a change to my life.
So it's having that awareness and then identifying what it is you want.
Yeah. I think for me, like when Simon touched on therapy and stuff, like I always knew the answer. I didn't necessarily have the confidence to make the answer, or didn't have the confidence in myself to make the answer. So speaking to someone impartial or speaking to someone independent, I could kind of go, this is what I'm thinking, like this is what's going through my mind. And they're going, well, what's stopping you do it? They're asking the questions to go and do that. Go and do that. Go and get the results that you want.
So what's interesting is you've both been through therapy with counselling. And what I'd like to know is kind of like your mindsets going into it and then seeing if it's like anything similar to mine. So start off with yourself, Gary.
If I'm being honest with you, like when I first went into counselling, I wasn't sure what to expect. Like, I think the thing is as well, like a lot of people going into counselling think that you're going to get the magic answer. You're not going to get the magic answer. They're not going to tell you something that you've not heard of before, or especially now, there's so much stuff on mental health in podcasts, in books and things like that. No one's going to deliver this golden key that goes, I'm going to give you this and then you're going to feel absolutely amazing. But what I touched on then is like, they gave me the confidence to make the decisions. And like TJ Power's book, The Dose Effect, right? It's small things you can make in your life which will make you feel better. Like, and we try and do a mental health Monday post every single week. And again, like the things that we post, like having purpose, like going on a hike, it's not going to have like, you're not going to wake up the following day and go, I've gone from depression to absolutely amazing. But it's all these little things in life that you put together to get an overall outcome.
Nice. I like that. How about yourself, Simon?
So I think for me, I had therapy twice before it actually worked for me. So first time around, I went to the GP. I was claiming depression. I was claiming anxiety. I wasn't accepting that I was an alcoholic, which, funnily enough, you addressed that situation and the depression and anxiety went away quite quickly. But I wasn't in the right space. I was looking for that golden bullet, if you like. I was thinking, well, I'm going to carry on drinking daily. That's who I am. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. But that must be irrelevant. But I'll go to therapy and I'll sort half an hour a week. We'll sort it out. And going there, lying to the person I was seeing, there was absolutely 0 point to it for the first block of 12 sessions I went to. It was actually a couple of years later when I actually went back. And funnily enough, all the things Gary sort of mentioned about the dose effect and being ready for it, the sort of second time around, or third time around, I actually was in that mindset. So I was prepared to put the work in for myself. I was really, really keen to ensure that I addressed the root problem, listened to what they suggested, opened up, was honest to them. And funnily enough, when you treated it with that mindset, it all made a big difference.
So my mindset going into it was similar with yours first time round.
Yeah.
I was like, what is talking to someone like this going to do?
Yeah.
How is this going to help? So I was very like standoffish almost for the first few sessions, sat here, arms folded, like what's this going to achieve? And I think we have to kind of accept help, don't we? I think as guys I was in denial about it, despite having panic attacks, crying, couldn't sleep, going through all that world of hell. But I was in denial. No, I'm fine. I don't need to be here. I'm only here because my dad and my girlfriend forced me to be here. But once I got over myself and put my ego to one side and go, do you know what, actually I do need help, this isn't right, this isn't how I want to live my life, only then did it start to work and make an effect.
Yeah, 100%.
So if somebody's considering going to counselling or going therapy or reaching out to yourselves as a charity, what would you say to them?
For me, I touched on confidence. It's very easy to look at other people and go, I'm not that bad. Simon touched on it earlier, like in terms of the alcohol struggles, like there's people that's worse than me. Like when I look at when I've needed counselling or needed therapy, yes, there's millions of people that are in a worse state than me. But I want to be the best version of me. Yeah. So take accountability of your feelings, your emotions, and do what's right for you. And that's the only way that people are going to do what's right for them and live a better life.
Yourself, Simon?
Yeah, I think if anyone approaches us, the charity funds therapy for people, so we're that big advocates of how much it works, and I just go through lived experience and tell people my story, how it helped me, my mindset I had, the changes I made to my life, the behaviours you put in place beforehand. So don't expect this golden bullet. Like you've got to, the work starts now. Like accepting you've got a problem or accepting that you need to work on yourself is one thing. Putting it into action is a completely different ball game. But if you're prepared to work on yourself, you're prepared to stop scrolling on your phone in the dark room, and you're prepared to get outside and fresh air, sunlight, exercising, eating properly, drinking properly, sleeping properly. Put everything into place, and like Gary said, to become the best version of yourself. The therapy will just be 10 times more effective. There's real success stories. When we go on our group hikes, 20% of the people there might have had therapy through us, and we've seen them come out the other side, and you see like their bundles of joy and energy. But they weren't always like that, and you can show and demonstrate the success of it really. And when people hear you telling them that, or they see it for themselves, what you've gone through, it makes a huge difference.
And that must be so satisfying for you guys as well, seeing someone go through that process and almost two different people at either end of the scale.
100%. I think we were speaking about it earlier today. There's with the nature of what we do and how people are, we speak to people that are suicidal, and there's no sort of two ways about it, and then sometimes think, have we took on more than we can chew here, and like, are we playing in this because we're not specialists, it's just something we're really passionate about and trying to pass it on. Then the people we do help and seeing them come through is so rewarding, but more for just knowing what a difference it's made to them and the community it's created.
So I'd love to know more about the charity. Where did all this start? Where did Simon and Gary start this charity? Can you give us a little bit of history and a background?
Well, there's three of us as well. Let's not forget Emma.
Yeah, sorry.
We seem to be the face. I think we've got the face for radio, I think they say. But like, I'd say without Emma, we'd be nowhere, because she's amazing in terms of like she puts us in a place and gets us all the ducks aligned, does a lot of the administration for us, probably where me and Simon aren't great. But we met through another charity, so we was all kind of volunteering for another charity, doing various different things for this charity, and that charity disbanded earlier at the start of last year. And for me, doing the charity work has a positive impact on my mental health. Yeah, so like when it was taken away, it was like that's had a negative impact on my mental health. And rather than just sitting there and going, oh yeah, that's gone now, I'm just gonna suck my thumb and be upset about it, we've sat down and gone, we don't want to stop doing it. Like we want to continue driving, helping people, and it's been fantastic because it's grown pretty quick. Probably too quick in terms of like the amount of people coming to us for referrals, but I also quite like the buzz of it. At the minute, we seem to be getting like 2 referrals a week. We weren't even meant to be doing referrals until this year when we got our heads together and said, we're going to set this charity up. Like, a lot of our friends and family, because we're so passionate about it, buy into us. And then, like, we did the Edale Skyline last year, and then we did the Nottingham Robin Hood half marathon. And we raised the money, and it's just like, well, what's stopping us going now? Like, let's go for it. And that's it. Like, and I think if we'd have started therapy in January, as we probably thought we was going to, we'd be 6 months behind where we are now. Like, January has been such a roller coaster for us. Like, sometimes you've been thinking, wow. For me, like, when I say to you, like, it has a massive impact on my mental health. Like, knowing that I am helping these people makes me go, I want to do it more. How much more can I help people? Like, what more can I do for people? What more can we do? Like, how can we raise more money? How can we support more people? And like, for me, I get a proper buzz from it. And all 3 of us have got the same passion, I think.
Yeah, we have 2 of us, definitely. Or we assume the 3rd.
Yeah.
I know the buzz that you're talking about. So when I record a podcast like this and you get the comments and people message you privately and you know it's helped, then you get that same buzz. Simon, can you explain to us why the name Summits Up?
Yeah. But do you want the honest answer? The honest answer is we put into ChatGPT, create me a quirky mental health charity related name that involves the outdoors and hiking, and I think Summits Up came out. But it did really sum up what we were looking for in regards to, we are a mental health charity. That's the bottom line. The more than that, though, we're also, it's a community, and I think this is the forefront of it is the community part. So we organise monthly hikes that whether people have had therapy through us or not, or they struggle or they don't, it's a real community feel where we do monthly hikes in the Peak District. We then extended that one step further to arrange, like Gary mentioned, the fundraising challenges. So the Edale Skyline last year, the Robin Hood Marathon, we're about to do the Yorkshire Three Peaks in a couple of months. And that's where we ask people to fundraise. That money that we've raised, we then fund people who reach out through our website for therapy. So it just seemed like a quirky name that fitted what we did. But everything initially was outdoors challenge related. And then obviously the play on words, that's about where it came from.
No, I liked it. So how does someone get involved with the charity or in the walks?
The best way to describe it is, how do you want to get involved? Because like, it's been absolutely mental. Like, the speed that we're building up with the momentum is crazy. Like, Simon's touched on kind of fundraisers. Like, tonight I'm going to a gym, and the gym have said that we're one of the 2 charities of the year. So they've got a guest speaker on tonight. It's Melvin from SAS Who Dares Wins.
Fantastic.
It's like £10 a ticket, and then half the money goes to our charity, and then half the money goes to another charity. In 3 weeks, there's a night called Only Knots in Nottingham, where a music studio reached out and said that one of their friends committed suicide in the past, and they wanted to do an event or night for people who have, for a mental health charity, and they'd rather do it for us than a charity like Mind, because they know that every pound that we raise goes to helping people. Then we've got our direct fundraisers. So we've got obviously the Yorkshire Three Peaks. We are looking to get some charity spaces for the Robin Hood as well. So if people want to run a half a marathon, we can kind of support in terms of organising that. But there's also things like in January we did the 31 in 31. So people paid £31 to basically join this challenge, which doesn't sound a lot, but it all mounts up. And that came off basically the dose effect. Like with dopamine, you feel better when you do an activity which builds your dopamine reserve. So there's things like looking at your phone, which gives you a quick dopamine hit, but then on the same time, you'll then get the dopamine crash. So where Simon touched on the communities, we've created a group in WhatsApp where people put their daily workouts, and we encourage them to do 31 minutes of exercise every day for the 31 days of January. Not necessarily like the money that's raised off the back of it, that's brilliant, but also like the community feel, like everyone encouraging each other. People that, I'll be honest, like sometimes I got home from work late or was doing something and I'd have to do 31 minutes of yoga. And like, I wouldn't have done that before. I'd have sat on my phone looking at Instagram, looking at like what, like not doing that. In reality, I've swapped that over. Rather than doing an exercise which doesn't help my long-term dopamine levels, instead I've picked something where I can be wholesome as such and build my dopamine reserve, and I wake up the following day and I feel good about it.
So kind of identifying how or what way they want to be involved and how to help, and then sending you a message on Instagram.
Yeah, just drop us a message on Instagram or visit our website, summitsup.co.uk. Drop us a message on there if you're not on Instagram, or you're on LinkedIn as well. I'm not very good on LinkedIn, but I'm sure Simon will get back to you. But yeah, have a think about that. What do you want to do? Like, what do people want to do? Like before, when we originally set up, we thought we'll be a hiking charity, we'll organise hikes, but there's so much more than that. There's so much to go at. Like, I think everyone wants to get involved in supporting people with mental health struggles. It's such a big thing at the minute. It's the biggest threat to our lives is ourselves. So like, how do you support your friends? How do you support you? How do you get people involved? Like, well, my one thing to you would be is like, if you want to get involved with this, like, get some of your friends involved as well. Like, if you want to come on a hike, bring a friend, because it's probably going to help them out as well.
All the hikes are listed on the website. Instagram, we put all our hikes as they happen, which is typically one a month, and then quarterly challenges. Everyone's welcome. We often have the case of people saying, like, do you have to have a mental health struggle to come, or is it a mental health walk? It's not at all. There's people from all walks of life, people that have struggled, people that are struggling, people that have never struggled. The community element of it, and like, I think when we talk about the buzz of helping people and the buzz of, like you say, with the podcast, when you've had 30 people come and do a huge hike together and sort of all sharing pictures afterwards, that buzz is just so good for everyone. And we get feedback all the time, people that come for the first time, they didn't know anyone, they've just moved to the area, just broke up with a partner, and how much it helped them and how much it needed them. That's just the sort of the main reason why. And that's why I'd welcome anyone to come and invite anyone to come on any of our events.
What I love about that is, so maybe a year or 2 years ago, one of my friends was struggling. I was like, oh, well, let's meet up. But I just thought, if we meet up in my house, in my lounge, and we sat opposite each other, it's going to be maybe a bit like therapy or something. I was like, let's go out for a walk. And we did, so we went for a walk around the park, and like the conversation just flowed. We didn't necessarily focus on that, but he brought it up later on. Yeah. But it's just like, you're outside, things to see, things to do, walk, whatever. Dogs running around. It's just getting outside, and that conversation was facilitated by that environment a lot better than us three doing it like this now.
Especially for men. So men cannot sit opposite each other very well and converse with a serious conversation. Whereas if you get outdoors, we often say that our hikes can be 6 hours of free therapy for someone who didn't realise they need it. So that's just invaluable with how much it can help. And we actually work with a couple of therapists now, and only with men offer that treatment. So they'll do walking therapy. There's one guy who does art therapy where he'll paint or he'll play the drums, and it's always used as any activity that stops you sort of having to make eye contact. Works 10 times better for you than just sitting over a table.
I never thought about it like that, but yeah, I can imagine just something to distract yourself. I guess maybe old school or are still relevant now, but people just going to the pub and not talking about it.
Yeah, I think like you look at kind of how typically men deal with problems, like,
yeah,
and it is like lock themselves away looking at the phone, go to the pub, like, and get drunk. Like, there's not like, I don't think men typically are very good at doing it. Like, we talk about, like, you look at your phone, like, if I pick up Instagram now, it'll be things full of things that I'm like, what's that? So I look at it and it's like holidays, new shoes, new clothes, like traveling.
Last time we did that, it was all Bonnie Blue. Luckily, you got away with it there.
You checked before.
But like you look at your phone and it's like all of a sudden, essentially it's advertising, but like it all costs a lot. Like I can't just go to Albania or Slovenia like tomorrow to have this buzz. So in theory, yeah, it looks nice looking at it, but it's unattainable. Yeah, where like how do we get like men out and go? Actually, like I've just split with my girlfriend. Like fancy a walk this weekend? I just split up with my girlfriend, or I'm having a shit week at work. Do you fancy going to the gym together this weekend? And it's like, how do we switch that momentum? For me, it's given people, but especially men, the drive to go, like, actually, this is what helps people. And so this is what I'm going to do about it. And that's why we do our Mental Health Mondays posts. And we try to give people ideas, like, have that purpose. I touched on it earlier. So a big thing for me is like having a purpose, so a long-term goal to work towards, because I hate running, like absolutely hate it. But I was forced into registering for the Robin Hood half marathon last year. I was thinking, I'm never going to do this. For months I was thinking, how do I pull out of this? Yeah. But I started by doing 5Ks. In my head I was thinking, I'm getting better at this. I might be able to do the Robin Hood. I might be able to do the Robin Hood half marathon. Then all of a sudden it was a 10K. Yeah. And I'm thinking, I'm halfway there now. Yeah, that only took me in just over an hour. I'm not going to sell myself that I'm a good runner because I'm not. Hour and 10 minutes. Cheers, Simon. It's all on Strava anyway. I can't lie about it, can I? But then, as soon as I did 10K, right, I said to someone that I train with at the gym, I says, I want to do a 15K, but if I do it with someone, I'm accountable. I'm not going to stop because they're there. So on a cold, wet Tuesday night in March, it was freezing. We went out to do 15K. I misjudged the kilometres, and all of a sudden I've done 17K. So in the space of 6 weeks, I've gone from not being able to run a 5K, 17K, and once I've done 17K, I was like, I can do a half marathon. But again, like when I first started, I thought I can't do this. Like, but I had that purpose, and every time I went out for a run, I knew that I was running to get better, to be able to achieve a half marathon. I've always been a pretty fit lad. I've played football and things like that. So I'll pick it up a lot quicker than other people will pick it up because of the transferable skills. But like, if you're struggling and you're lacking that motivation, you're struggling to get out of bed, my one goal would be like, or my one recommendation would be like, sit down and say like, what do I want to achieve? What can't I achieve? Which in a year's time, I'd be like, I achieve that. And how do you then go, right, how do you train for that? Is it a half marathon? Is it a high rocks? But it doesn't even have to be exercise. It could be something like, if you're creative and into music, that you want to get a record released or something like that. I don't know, but like, have a think about what your purpose is and what you want to do. Something that you can't deliver in a short space of time, something that you have to work towards over a long period of time. And it will switch your mindset out because you'll be working towards something. Then every time you go for that 5K run, couple of walks in there, like you'll feel like, actually, I'm getting better. I'm getting towards that end goal.
So identifying that purpose, the overall purpose, and then starting off small with those small steps, building up.
Exactly that. Like, it always makes me laugh when you kind of go on social media and you see like, this guy's just done an Ironman and he says that running's good for his mental health. You can't compare with someone that's just ran 100K. No one started and went on day one, oh, just run 100K. They always started small and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. The problem is they realised it was good for the mental health, so they continued doing it. And then a year later, 2 years later, it goes from the half marathon to the full marathon to the 50K to the 100K. Like, but what it is they realise that that's good for their mental health, so they continue doing it. And I think that's what a lot of people need to do, is look at themselves and go, what's good for my mental health and what do I need to continue doing and what do I need to stop doing? Like Simon touched on obviously addiction and alcohol and saying he had to stop that. I talked to you about going, I had to have the confidence to make the decisions. Like they're the things that were the catalysts to be able to put us in a good mind frame.
I really like that idea of just taking a step back and looking at what's good for my mental health. And I like the concept of reverse engineering it, because sometimes we can't really think, well, I don't know. But we do know that if we stay up all night or spend all day gaming or go out drinking, that's going to have a negative effect on us.
Yeah,
exactly.
So then you can then reverse engineer it to what is more positive. Simon.
Yes.
Where do you see the charity in a year's time?
Well, I think weirdly it'd be good to make ourselves redundant. In a weird way, it would be good that the charity never had to exist, because mental health no longer will exist across society. Fundamentally, that's not going to happen. So I guess we will be in a position where we'll have a close-knit community of people that we've helped or are helping or looking to help in the future. We'll be organising bigger and better events. Hopefully we'll grow from not just around the East Midlands but to national. We'll always have full-time jobs. We'll always do the charity as it's a hobby, and like Gary said, it's there to help us as much as it is to help other people. So we'll be doing bigger and better challenges. We'll be helping more and more people. We'll be more accessible to others. We're working with more therapists. We'll have more success stories of people that have come through and organising events for us. I think essentially, fundamentally, it'd be great to get to a point where new people are wanting to get involved and volunteer with us and run events and run challenges and take in easier challenges or harder challenges or abroad challenges, anything it may be, to get more people into the community we've got.
So what I'd love to know from both of you is, separately, what are the biggest things you've learned from being involved in this charity and running the charity? Over to you, Gary.
Biggest things I've learned. So I think the biggest thing for me is, like, I've turned into a massive geek when it comes to mental health, right? Because I feel like the more I learn about mental health and the way your brain works, the more I can use it to encourage others to put like good behaviours behind themselves that have a positive impact on their life, for example. So, like, yeah, so for me, like, the biggest learn, so like I touched on it earlier, TJ Powers, but the dose effect. Like, if anyone wants to improve, for me, their standard of life, read that book, listen to that audiobook. He does a couple of podcasts as well. He's got one with James Smith and one with the guy from Busted. I'm not that cool to know his name.
Matt Willis.
Simon is cool.
Yeah.
About it, and like basically it talks about how the chemicals in your body have a positive impact on the way you feel. And like, to me, reading that book, it should be taught at schools. It should be taught at school. Like, it should be going, like, looking at your phone for 7 hours a day is not healthy, right? But what is healthy is good food, sunlight, like doing exercise every day. Instead, like, people are just kind of fascinated on these things that are short-term dopamine hits, like alcohol, looking at the phone, like, and they're not realising the negative impact it has on them. The one thing that I know is I need to use my phone less. Me and Simon spoke about it this morning. He's trying to use his phone less at the minute. But like, especially while the charity is taking off, like, we're doing a lot in terms of like social media, kind of pushing the charity, pushing the challenges that we've got. So it requires a lot. But in the long term, the one thing I want to do is take more of what TJ Powers says in his book and incorporate that into my life. Not sure about ice baths yet, but we'll see about that.
What about yourself, Simon? Biggest things you've learned from?
Biggest thing I've learned would be, I think we've heard for years that you need to check in on your mates, and like Gary mentioned, it's okay to not be okay, etc. I think for men in particular, they were told all these things about checking in with their mates, but no one really ever explains to them how to do it and what to do if someone's not in a good place. So the biggest thing I've learned, and something I've tried to do more of, is try and go into businesses and get them to sign up to be the charity of the business for the year. So with that, I'd offer to do a couple of talks on mental health and a couple of talks on men's mental health in particular, or battling addiction, and just giving off and learning about what to do in that situation, how to reach out to your friends and how to act on the information that you get back. And I think that was the biggest learn, as to processing that information and actually turning it into something useful. And that's one of the reasons that I always say we're always here for an impartial person to lean on. And the other thing is just how little men reach out. So if the small data pool we've got of the however many referrals we've done, over 70% of them are women. And we're not a men's mental health charity, but a lot of people assume we are, because two blokes go and talk on a podcast about mental health, people would assume men's mental health. But even we very strongly believe that mental health affects everyone, so support helps anyone. But it's still, even with that, anyone's welcome to have the help. It's there. We're sort of almost encouraging people to go. Men are still not reaching out for it. So that's probably when I said the other one was the biggest learn, this is the biggest learn, that men won't reach out even if it's offered someone a plate.
I think from my stance with it is, even when men have reached out, I feel like it's because someone said to them, you need to reach out. It's not off their own back.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not off their own back. It's saying someone else is going, speak to these guys, get help. When I'm looking at the referrals, that's kind of like the thing that surprises me enough. And like I touched on it, I was in a fortunate position where my dad had mental health struggles, so I understood probably mental health at an earlier age than probably most people, right? But again, like, how do we get people to go, I need help me? Like, because I don't know, is it a culture thing? Is it a
mind shift change?
Yeah.
Help's available, let me become a better version of myself, as opposed to I need to wait till I've hit absolute rock bottom to then get some help to build me back up again. And if we could promote anyone who feels that the support would help them, then take the leap and take it. Grasp the help that's offered to you.
It's almost easy for us to say because, like myself, we waited until we was rock bottom, panic attacks, going into work, crying, not feeling good enough, not really knowing what the future was like for us. Before then I go, okay, there might be something not right here.
Yeah.
Like, why are we waiting until that point? But yeah, it's an interesting conversation. How can we help men especially come forward earlier before they get to that breaking point as well?
Absolutely, yeah.
So as we round out the podcast, what I'd love to know is, how do you maintain your own mental health individually?
The one thing another learn that I've had over probably since doing this charity is a gratitude list as well. Not touched on it at all. So like, I'd encourage anyone now to get a pen and paper out and give themselves a score about how content they are with life. Then write down 10 things you're grateful for. Grateful for your friends and family's health. Grateful for having a job. These are generic things. Have a think about the things you're grateful for in life. Like, what's gone well for you this week? What's gone well for you today? What's gone well for you so far this year? Then have a look at that number at the top of the page, and has that number gone up? The chances are it probably has. And you've taken 10 minutes out of your life to go, I'm now more content with life. Nothing's changed. The environment you're in hasn't changed. All you've done is you've put 10 things on a piece of paper. And as a result of that, you feel better about it. So that's a short-term thing. My long-term thing is, like we touched on, is purpose. Give yourself purpose. Like, what do you want to achieve in 2026? How can you achieve it? Like, what are the milestones? What's your 5K? What's your 10K? What's your half marathon? Like, and how do you get to those points? So have a look at what the things that are around you. Get involved in one of our challenges. In a couple of weeks, we're doing the Yorkshire Free Peaks. A lot of people won't have walked 40k before. Yeah. It's a nice walk. It's not too bad.
A lovely 40k stroll.
Lovely 40k stroll. But it gives you something to work towards. If you want a challenge to start with, it's a brilliant challenge. Like, I remember the first time I did it, it took me just under 12 hours. The next time I did it in 9 hours. So like you have to start off somewhere. Like, and don't look at me and think, oh yeah, Gary's like run half marathons. If it took him 12 hours, it's going to take me 2 days. Like, don't look at that, because the conditions were different. Like, that was like taking our time. That was it was actually in the snow. But like, when we're doing this challenge in April, like, if you want to push yourself, if you want something to work towards, sign up. Like, even going out and asking for people for money, seeing how much money you can raise, it makes you feel good. It gives you that warm fuzzy feeling inside when someone donates a tenner, when someone donates 20 quid. You should see what it feels like when someone donates 100 quid. It's over the moon. But like, all those little things just add up, and it just makes you feel good.
Just before we move on to Simon, how do people donate? Is there a link on there?
So we've got Just Giving. So we got charity status 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. Fantastic news. So before, we did it as a crowdfunding.
Yep.
Now we've got an official charity. We're changing basically the bank account details are all changing, and the Just Giving details are changing. So in a weird way, happened at the worst possible time because we're trying to get people to donate for the Yorkshire Free Peaks. But yeah, there's a Just Giving link. You can do that. But yeah, drop us a message on Instagram if you're struggling with anything, or if you want to donate, because we do have a bank account. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to go through Just Giving. It's just easier than giving sort code and account number out to everyone.
Perfect. Simon, how do you maintain your mental health?
I think for me, the things we mentioned earlier, so it's the taking a moment to reflect. Am I getting enough sleep? Am I getting into the outdoors? Am I getting fresh air? Am I exercising? Am I eating well? The drinking, for me, that's gone, so I don't need to worry about that. But if you are drinking, are you drinking too much? Are you drinking on your own? Once you put all those checks in place, I personally find that I am then in a good place. So it's just basically all the things you know you should do. Are you doing them? If you are, and if it's still not working for you, because it might not, then reach out, talk to other people, talk to us, seek help, but look after yourself first. And they're the things I'd do.
Nice. So to end the podcast, I have a closing question, which is, what does mental resilience mean to you? Gary.
I knew you was going to ask me. Okay. So to me, it's having that toolkit.
Yeah.
In life, you're always going to have ups, but you're always going to have downs. That's life. But what it is having a toolkit ready to go, how do I get out of those rock bottom situations? I touched on quite a few different things today. So you've got your gratitude list, you've got your finding your purpose, you've got speaking to therapists, you've got your behaviourals, like your smaller actions, like the dose effect. And it's like having that toolkit and having that knowledge to go, and the self-awareness to go, I'm not feeling good today, I need to do this, I need to think about what I'm grateful for. Actually, I've got no purpose, I need to create my purpose for this week or this month or this year. And it's having that toolkit that you can just put together and go, like, yes, life isn't great at the minute, but this is what I need to do to get into a better situation, better place.
So you go into that toolbox, take what you need.
Exactly.
Awesome. What about yourself, Sam?
So I'll relate mine back to the alcoholism and addiction side, and I'd say holding yourself accountable to the work you've put in so far. So whether that be you've done an hour without trying to better yourself and improve yourself, if you've done a day, if you've done a week, if you've done a month, every step of not pressing that effort button and just letting all that work go to waste, you're getting stronger, you're getting better every time. So ticking off the days, realising as more times pass, more water's under the bridge, you've got more to lose, and you're also in a stronger position to not throw it away. And as that time goes on, I think you owe it to yourself to stick with it.
I really like that perspective, and I can kind of see that that's what you use for yours.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. And as a touch wood, from the day I decided to knock it all on the head, I've not relapsed. I think there is a place where people do, but for me, it's just been that I've put too much time and effort and hard work into it now to throw it away and start back to square one.
Well, gents, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having us. Appreciate it. Been good.